station in town. Why? Because when it happens, we talk about it.
Right. So at any point, he can go be who he is. He's Marshall Mathers. He can go down the street every day, and it's over. So, but we've always had, good white people on our side, helping us during times of struggle in the movement. So yeah, I don't have a problem with what he said or how he did it. I think he was
very articulate.
Very articulate. I mean, he's amazing with some of his analogies he uses. The one talking about Fantastic Four and with the rocks, because he's talking about the big rock guy and he's orange. I mean, dude is brilliant, man. I mean, you just got to give it up for him as an artist. He's amazing. So for me, I don't necessarily have an issue with it, but no. I don't think he or any other person that hasn't walked in these black shoes can speak for us in what we go through.
910 AM Superstation, the best, the brightest, and the bravest voices of Detroit. 910 AM Superstation is the voice of the people. Don't believe me? Just listen.
I listen all the time. Great radio personalities.
The new mobile site is incredible. With the visual live feed, this is a whole new level for community broadcasting. I'm also very impressed with the Bible section present both in a written and audio format. 910 AM has really stepped it up to a whole new level.
Tune in, call in, and don't forget to find us on social media. 910 AM Superstation is the voice of the people. Don't believe me? Just listen.
I listen all the time. Great radio personalities.
The new mobile site is incredible. With the visual live feed, this is a whole new level for community broadcasting. I'm also very impressed with the Bible section present both in a written and audio format. 910 AM has really stepped it up to a whole new level.
And we don't just show love to the callers. We see the comments and the posts too. The 910 AM radio app is now available on iTunes, Google Play, and the Amazon App Store. And guess what? It's free. Listen to all of your radio favorites on the go. It's quick, it's easy, and it's brand new just for you. The new 910 AM radio app. Download it today. We're the hottest station in town. Whatever you need, it's right here on 910 AM Superstation. The most powerful voices in the urban community. 910 AM Superstation gives you the flip side, the real side. This is our side.
3, 2, 1.
You're listening to 910 AM Superstation, Detroit's only urban talk radio station. The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of 910 AM Superstation or Adele Media. You're listening to 910 AM Superstation, Detroit's only urban talk radio station.
It's the Wayne Bradley Show, conservative analytical radio, giving you what you need to know. Listen up, it's the Wayne Bradley Show. Conservative analytical radio, giving you what you need to know. Listen up, it's the Wayne Bradley Show. That's what it is. It's the Wayne Bradley Show.
And welcome to the Wayne Bradley Show live on 910 AM, your superstation. And you know what? Feels good to do this at a 1 o'clock hour on a Sunday. I'm thankful that people are listening in, but this is like I said, it's a little different than being here now at 5 in the morning to 7 a.m. That's the new daily hour, 5 to 7 a.m. on the Wayne Bradley Show here on 910 a.m., the Superstation. Got a lot of things to kind of wrap up for the week that we've talked about. It's been going on over the last week here in politics and in culture. We're going to talk today about, of course, the Eminem diss towards President Trump. Has it had any really lasting effect? Here it is Sunday, and I know the day of the BET Awards, that was a very big deal. And I think it's kind of ironic because here we have a white rapper who's, don't get me wrong, Eminem is probably the best lyricist ever, one of the best. But how come none of the impact, and this is all through Viacom, a big, large, white-owned media company now. This is not, I know it's on BET. But why was it that Eminem's freestyle was like the most featured thing ever when there's been plenty of rappers over the last 6 months to, say something about Donald Trump? Now, I want to kind of flip it to the hypocrisy of that, because at the same time, over the last 30 years, Donald Trump was considered a icon or a metaphor in the use of hip hop by a ton of rappers, dating all the way back to the early 90s up until now. No one had anything bad to say about Trump. Matter of fact, people were trying to get it like Trump. They were calling themselves the Black Trump. You know, there was nothing negative about trying to get like Trump until he became a Republican. And I think it's almost ironic you had Donald Trump introduce Eminem at the VMA Awards a couple years ago. It was 2004, so I shouldn't say a couple years ago. But it just shows you how quickly pop culture, and in particular, if you decide you want to do something that is on the Republican side of issues, and how they can quickly change on you. We're going to talk about the real big issue of the week, and I think that with everything that's going on with, obviously the Eminem stuff, the football, we're going to talk about did Roger Goodell cave in to President Trump? Is this another victory for President Trump? Because the NFL pretty much sent out a memo. They didn't make it official. They made sure to say we didn't change a rule during the middle of the season. But I'll read out to you some of the memo that was left out by Goodell on Wednesday, pretty much telling every team it would be in the best interest of the NFL and its players just to stand up, because the issue that they are bringing across was being lost in the mix of the debate, which I had said probably already a week ago, 2 weeks ago. Whenever the president made that statement in Alabama, I said, well, now this is not going to be about police brutality or what Colin Kaepernick originally took a knee for. It's going to be a protest, and sure enough, that was on Friday night that I said that, and that's when he had made the speech. I was like, oh, man, the NFL's going to fall for this one. Donald Trump just played them. He knows how to do things with the media that I don't think any other Republican has been able to do. I'll give him credit for that. He knows how to make the media just jump at his every whim. He knows how to get he has used the presidency as a bully pulpit in the way that President Obama should have done on issues that mattered in the black community. Donald Trump has done it in what I would say that matters for a lot more folks. But the whole NFL issue showed that he understands the communication side of mass communications nowadays better than any living president and most CEOs of organizations. I mean, the way he's tapped into the psyche of his real base, I give him a lot of credit, because I thought the NFL thing, by the time he called them SOBs, I wasn't really just shook about that. But you know what? They called the NFL, and the next 2 days later, you had all these owners taking knees and standing with the players, which you never see owners and the players stand together on issues. It rarely, rarely happens. And so what they were doing at that time, folks, like I predicted then, I said, they're protecting the shield. They're protecting the NFL. They're not standing up for police brutality or whatever Colin Kaepernick's standing for, because guess what? Colin Kaepernick is still not on the team. Colin Kaepernick had an opportunity. He probably could have played with the Tennessee Titans. They signed Brandon Whedon, I believe. That showed me right there, they're never taking Colin Kaepernick back. And if Colin Kaepernick wanted to get back, he's not lending himself and putting himself in that position. I don't think he's coming back to the league now. And so the NFL players and everything, they need to focus on, if they want to really bring awareness to these issues, don't give up. Don't just say, okay, because since we can't protest before the game on Sundays, that doesn't mean you cannot continue to use your platform to make folks aware. And I hope that a majority, or the leaders of those kind of guys, like Michael Bennett and the Bennett brothers in general, I think they will continue. But will a lot of the other players who are, because again, I think that in being human beings, they're concerned about these situations, and most of them weren't. You can't say they were doing it for selfish reasons, because there is really no benefit now at this point of NFL players taking a knee or trying to make that stand during the game, because it's obvious you can be punished for this. And so, I think that the way that it worked out was that Donald Trump made it between him and the players, and I think that as the president, more likely, and obviously reading the psyche of his supporters, who I thought it was pretty much a non-issue, but a lot of people were out protesting at NFL games. A lot of people still never said, they just said, hey, look, they should not be taking a knee. And so the whole issue that they were protesting for got lost in the message, or in the way that they chose to debate or bring up the issue. And so now we move on. I think the NFL, that's what they're trying to say. They're saying let's move on. If you want to get more involved in it, then by all means you should. And I think we'll see what happens with the NFL and that. But I think Donald Trump won on that event. And so we've got calls coming in. We'll get to you shortly. Please be patient on that. We're going to bring you on there in a second. But I think that it's very interesting that, again, Donald Trump knows how to use the media in ways that no one else ever has. And so there's also an issue with the fact that Donald Trump has now said he is removing the Obamacare subsidies, which will make it harder for people to offer, the Obamacare package. Now, what I think he's doing, he's going to make Congress work together. Senator Rand Paul, who was one of my favorite guys in D.C., is working with him on crafting this bill. So I have confidence that it's going to work out for the American people. And caller, please be patient there. We will be right with you. Don't hang up. Give us a call at 313-209-9000. We're going to talk the issues of, did Donald Trump win the debate with the NFL? Give us a call. All right. So, other things going on here in this wonderful world of politics this week. Donald Trump and Rex Tillerson met, seeing to put things behind them and move forward for the greater good. Obviously, President Trump has a trip to Asia, and it's best that they are on the same page moving forward the agenda. Interestingly enough, Rex Tillerson, who has a long history in international business, he seems to, I'm wondering at this point now, when he's getting his message across, are these foreign agencies and foreign countries trying to undercut, or do they believe in what Rex Tillerson is saying right now? And that's something that we have to be diligent in being careful about. I apologize to the caller that's calling in. Please be patient. Calling into the Wayne Bradley Show, 313-209-9000. And again, that number is 313-209-9000. All right, folks. So we're also talking about how Donald Trump has basically told a religious group that America will return to our Christian values. Now, I think that that's an interesting proclamation, but I think that, to be honest, Donald Trump has made it clear that he is looking out for the Christian right, and I think that they have to be happy. If there's a group of people that would be happy right now, it is the Christian right, because Donald Trump has continued to advance the agenda of the Christian right, and I think that's a good thing. But he did say that he said we're promising a return to traditional American values, while again speaking on the NFL players kneeling during the anthem, and I think that again these are issues that he knows how to appease to a certain group of people that want to hear about this stuff. I think more people are obviously concerned about tax reform, infrastructure, and now health care, because what's going on with the health care bill, it does change the way people are moving around and how it will be financed, and how these subsidies will make, being able to compete across state lines. There are a lot of different things that are at play here, and I think that Congress better really get in gear. The pressure is not on Donald Trump at this point, because he continually knows how to bring the onus to Congress and to get something done. And at the end of the day, that is what Congress's job is to do, is to write the laws. The president signs the laws that his House and Senate bring through. And so I don't think that any of these things right now are distracting the president and his success, and if he wants to go for a second term. The Washington Post just put out an article saying prepare for 8 years of President Trump. And a lot of people would say, oh, no, that's crazy right now. I said, well, you got to understand the people that elected President Trump, they're happy with the job he's doing. There are some establishment, Republicans that might not be comfortable with everything he's doing. And Democrats, to me, are going to continue to lose because they're not offering any solutions. I don't understand how Democrats offer no solutions and then return home to wherever they live, and that's in Detroit. That could be in New York. That could be in California. But they don't do anything, and then they come back home and blame it all on Republicans. And I think that the more they do that, the more they run the risk of losing younger people, independents, from supporting them because they're not coming up with any solutions. It's easy to criticize people and not come up with solutions. And I think that is what the Democrat Party is doing right now. You have, on the local level, Brenda Lawrence, who has spent more time promoting what's going on in Flint, going after the Michigan State police officer, again, making statements about stuff like that, but won't sit down with the president. And you tell me, if you live in the 14th district, what do you expect to get done here if your congresswoman won't even go sit down and have a meeting? Because you know why? The Congressional Black Caucus or the Democrat Party have said, no one's allowed to talk to the president unless you're Chuck and Nancy. Well, so what does that tell you? And so if I was a leader in my community like that, if I was a congressperson, if you're Brenda Lawrence, she's telling you, you can't talk to the president, but we can. We'll handle this, Brenda. You don't worry about it. It shows no leadership or no gumption to go out and create your own deal. Do what's best for the people of the 14th district as opposed to what Nancy Pelosi thinks is best for the Democrat Party. And I think that there's more Democrats that are continually going to be weakened by following a political trail that is just of an obstruction, of offering no solutions. And that's what we have right now. It's unfortunate. That's why D.C. is broken. That's why President Trump was sent there to drain the swamp. It wasn't just because of Republicans or Democrats. It's both. No one wants to get stuff done. And, there are some Republicans that are okay with the status quo, and there's plenty of Democrats that just are going to sit here with their head in the sand and not do anything for the next 2 years. And come back and ask for your vote again next year in 2018. And it's sad. And that's why, in particular, in African-American communities, we are left with voiceless leaders who are just capitulating to the Democrat Party as a whole and don't speak up for the issues that matter in our community. There's a reason why a lot of those issues aren't brought to the table because you know what? They want to get stuff done that's bigger for them than it is for the urban communities. They know they have our vote. And folks, that is where we mess up giving our vote to one party. They know they have our vote. They don't feel like they have to do too much. Their sell is, what are you going to go do? Vote for the Republican? Vote for Trump? Come on. He doesn't like black people. That's their sell. Nothing else. No solutions. Nothing that is a win for the community. They're not talking about community banking. They're not talking about getting rid of some of the regulations in Dodd-Frank that make it hard now for an African-American business owner who might have had some credit challenges to buy his first home, lining up some assets for that he can lend off of to his business. They won't tell you that. They tell you, oh, we're fighting the big banks. And that's the way they fight it. We're fighting the big banks. Meanwhile, your local community banks can't give you a loan. And Dodd-Frank has helped, and again, in creating that logjam where, again, the minority communities are underserved, and we're not demanding enough. We want them. We should not want our politicians to walk around as mad as we are. We should expect them to carry out in a legislative agenda that addresses those issues. And I'm sorry, folks. For the most part, in urban America, and I can, we just don't get it. We're not getting that. We have a lot of bleeding hearts. We have a lot of compassion. They love to give some good speeches, things of that nature. But in terms of actually legislating, and pushing for things that would be wins in our community, they're too scared. They want to wait to what Nancy Pelosi tells them to do. And guess what? I don't think Nancy Pelosi really cares about the urban community. She doesn't. That's not her constituency. That's not her constituency. And this is, again, the reason why the Democrat Party, while they talk about Donald Trump, and they would love to keep talking about Donald Trump because you know what? Again, he's a celebrity. Our president is a celebrity. So that keeps people clicking on their websites and watching TV, which means they can raise their ad dollars. But the real story is how split up Democrats are. The Bernie Sanders wing has shown the real rift in that party because there are a lot of, again, folks that are tired of the status quo on both sides of the aisle. Donald Trump represented being tired of the status quo. Now, before Donald Trump got in the race, it would have been Rand Paul. He was the guy that was going to represent the people who are tired of the status quo. And Rand Paul had a better understanding of the legislative process at the time, but he did not have the swagger or the ability to swallow up the room in terms of the oxygen the way Donald Trump did. And so Donald Trump embodies that. And I still don't quite understand it all because he's a billionaire, but he was able to tap into the guy that's tired of being forgotten about in America, is the way I look at it. The guy that feels like he's losing his America. Now, is that somewhat playing into some fear? But yeah, everyone does that. That's the same thing Democrats do to black voters. Oh, you're going to lose your right to vote. Oh, if you ask for ID, that's racist. But go try to vote at a union hall and see how that works out for you in terms of how, you can go in there and vote. If you go in there without your ID, you won't be allowed to vote, but no one's going to call that racist. That's just common sense. Security, you want a secure vote. You want transparency in that process. Why wouldn't people want that for the voters? And why do they think it makes it so much harder only for black people to require, an ID? Or if you take away straight ticket voting, that to me still is the most offensive thing I have ever heard. You take away straight ticket voting, and black people are going to be so confused they won't know what to do. They won't know who to vote for if you don't have the D next to the name and allow straight ticket voting. Ridiculous. See, what that is Democrats prefer that black people not even think about who they're voting for and just hit that button for Democrat. That's why they do that. They don't want them to think about the people that, who they're voting for. It's a lot easier for them if they just vote for party. And, I understand that from winning an election that might be easier. But what it does is it does make folks not think about who they're voting for and just vote for a party. Now, I might vote for 95% of my ticket as a Republican, but I never hit straight ticket. You know why? Because I want to read through who I'm voting for. And it might be somebody at dog catcher level that might be a better Democrat. Go figure, right? So you vote for that one person, or you might know that person personally, whatever. I don't vote straight ticket. I prefer to read through my list, but they don't want black folks, in particular on the Democrat side of the party, to do that. And I think that's terrible. I think it's terrible. Give us a call, 313-209-9000. Again, that's 313-209-9000. If you haven't been listening to my show during the week, you can also go on the website, conservativebro.com. I load up all my shows literally within an hour because I know a lot of people aren't up from 5 to 7. I load up all the shows, and you can listen to them on the way to work. You listen to them on your phone. We've got the iTunes app now, so you can go on there and look up the Wayne Bradley Show, and you will find all the shows that we do. So it's good. It's good being able to do the show again. I'm so happy to be back on the air. And give me a call at 313-209-9000. How do you think President Trump is doing? There's also the Puerto Rico issue where there's some people have complained, but I think that again, being honest, there's such a different logistical challenge working in Puerto Rico than there's been in Florida in Texas. And I guess even from a technical standpoint of finances, when you talk about certain mechanisms being in place to match dollars to get this different aid, it's not there for Puerto Rico. And I think one congressman said they want statehood now. Makes sense to me. I would if I was Puerto Rico. I know I'd want statehood at this point because they need the money. They badly need the money. Their infrastructure, which has always been known to be outdated, it was outdated, and they need new electric grids. You've got a lot of solar companies down there trying to work to improve the situation, which is good. I think that a lot of these islands, you do need to have other energy alternatives if you're in the midst of hurricanes pretty much every year. I don't understand. I wouldn't want to live. That's why I kind of like living in Michigan. I complain a lot about the wintertime, but man, I don't think I would want to be somewhere where there's hurricanes every year like that. So how do you think President Trump has handled Puerto Rico? I would like to hear from some folks on that. I think he's done a decent job. I think that given the circumstances of everything that's going on there, I think he's working with a tough challenge, but it's never easy working with within tragic situations. We come back from the break. We'll talk a little bit more about the Las Vegas situation that you haven't seen or hear anything about as of lately. I think that timelines are being rearranged. I'm not one of these conspiracy theory guys, but it does seem strange that timelines are being revised, and it's not all adding up. So thank you for calling in to the Wayne Bradley Show today. The number is 313-209-9000. Be patient with me as we get to these calls. Again, the number is 313-209-9000. We got a lot of things to talk about today on this break. We're going to talk about Donald Trump and this idea of 8 years. Some people are scared right now, but I think that if Donald Trump continues to deliver on the promises he's made, the economy will be in better shape. People will be paying less for their health insurance, and folks will support the president once again. And as I'm sitting here in the studio, I'm watching Hillary Clinton still talking bad about Donald Trump. Now, if you notice, you haven't seen Bill Clinton anywhere around this because I think he's probably embarrassed. Hillary is still out doing TV interviews, obviously peddling her book, but still just can't let it go. She just can't let it go. She looks pretty upset here. She says and Clinton said it, and I've said it too. Now, I will agree with her on this. I guess even a broke clock is right twice a day, huh? Clinton said Trump tapped into the anxiety of America. And I think he did. There is some anxiety out there, and I think he tapped into it. To me, I find it funny that, and people ought to understand that the billionaire tapped into it, and not the Rand Pauls, not the other guys, but Donald Trump. He tapped into it, and he continues to have what I consider a key understanding of what his base wants to hear and what they want to know. And so I can appreciate that. And I apologize to that caller there. We're going to be taking calls after the break here, talking about all the different issues we've been talking about today. So it's been an interesting day, interesting week in politics here. But give me a call. We're taking calls now. I'm sorry for the couple folks that we might have missed here. Give me a call at 313-209-9000. Are you ready for another 4 years of Donald Trump? Can we go 8 years with President Donald Trump? Oh, my producer over here, she's shaking her head. She doesn't know. Don't shake your head like that. So we got someone on the line here. We've got John on the line. John, thanks for calling in there. I think we missed your call before. Thanks for calling in, sir.
Yeah, how you doing?
All right, how you doing?
Man, you on point when it comes to the Democrats and Republicans. As far as I'm concerned, as especially in the state of Michigan, the Democrat Party ain't no better than the Republican Party, and it's been like that for 50 years.
Well, I'm going to say that the Republican Party, at the very least, even if you don't like the Republican Party, you can at least say that they're coming up with solutions. And maybe you don't like the solution, but they're producing solutions as opposed to the Democrats that just say no. And then come back home to Detroit.
It ain't the fact that nobody really like the party. It's just they program. They program towards working people. But as far as I'm concerned, when it comes to black folks, problems we have had in this country since 1865, it come from both parties. Sure, we know in this modern day time, in order for blacks to really be successful in this country, we have to learn to become part of both parties. That's
there you
why
go.
We have different vice president and different people's part of Republican Party and Democrat Party. Just because you're a Republican don't mean that you don't love your people.
There you go, John.
Sometimes you need to have somebody to sit at the table so other folks can see where you come from.
I agree.
That works both ways.
I totally agree. If you're not at the table, then your issues aren't there. I mean, that's just the bottom line. And that's why I've always believed in terms of working with the Republican Party and me being a Republican myself is that if I'm not in the room, who's going to be there? And how can I expect our issues to be brought to the table if nobody's there? How does that work?
It's just that in this country for years, everybody know that poor man. And what I mean about that poor man, and I ain't talking about, I'm just using this for example. The poor whitey would kill you, but the rich would give you instead of killing you. That was the difference. That's why they had so many problems in the South like that.
Right.
That's why they didn't want people to vote in the South. They were just so racist for years and years, and just treated blacks like blacks or not human beings. The only thing, I'm going to say this right quick, the only thing they're going to have to be careful, they're going to have to be careful now because it seems like a lot of black elected officials that we put in office, once they get in office, you got to beg them to do what they're supposed to do. What is that all about?
I agree with you, John. Well, you know what it is? They forget that they're actually public servants and that, we don't serve them a lot of times. That's exactly what the problem is.
Well, I think you got a different type of intelligent, so-called educated Negro in this city. See, these Negroes in this city, as far as I'm concerned, I can't understand if you're educated and everybody know if you got education, can't nobody take that from you. Why is these Negroes, I'm going to ask you, brother, why is these Negroes in this city is so scared of the white man? Answer that question for me. Thank you.
All right. Well, John, I'm gonna have to think about that while I'm on the break. Why are they so scared of this white man? I don't know. That's a tough question there, John. I don't know if they're scared of him or if they just want to get a piece of the action. And I think that's the problem. They're not looking out for everybody in the community. So we'll be back from the break on the Wayne Bradley Show. Thanks for listening in, and we'll be back.
Radio, giving you what you need to know. Listen up, it's the Wayne Bradley Show. It's the Wayne Bradley Show.
There's always something new to talk about, and 910 AM Superstation wants to have you covered from every angle. So we're adding some familiar voices and strong opinions to the best talk radio station in town.
Hi, I'm Rochelle Riley, and I'm so glad to be joining the family at 910 AM Superstation. We're going to be talking about it all Monday through Friday, 6 to 7 p.m. Don't miss it.
910 AM Superstation, the voice of Detroit. 910 AM Superstation is in a league of its own. We are the only talk radio station in the Metro Detroit area sensitive to the African American community.
Make sure you join us on what station?
910 AM the Superstation.
910 AM.
910 AM. On 910 AM Superstation.
910 AM Superstation, Metro Detroit's only African American based talk radio station. Be sure to catch Doing the D with Alexander Zonchek right here on 910 AM Superstation.
And you know what that means? Lots of cool stuff. Hey, if you love gospel and jazz and Motown cruises and holiday festival concerts in Monroe, we've got it all right here for you.
I want to say thank you for all you do, all you give us. We, your fans, we just love you. And you know,
I appreciate that, Phyllis. Thank you so much. It's uncomfortable to get compliments to do something that you love doing so much, but I appreciate it.
The Voice of Detroit, Sundays from 5 to 7 p.m. 910 AM Superstation is the voice of the people. Don't believe me? Just listen.
Great programming. Inspirational.
I know there's some good info on 910 AM Superstation.
The latest promo for the 4 to 7 slot at the end says, the Goon Squad's on speed dial. Got me listening to reruns up to the dial.
OMG. A-listers on the radio.
So when you think of 910 AM Superstation, we want you to tune in, call in, and don't forget to find us on social media. 910 AM Superstation is the voice of the people. Don't believe me? Just listen.
I listen all the time. Great radio personalities.
The new mobile site is incredible. With the visual live feed, this is a whole new level for community broadcasting. I'm also very impressed with the Bible section present both in a written and audio format. 910 AM has really stepped it up to a whole new level.
Tune in, call in, and don't forget to find us on social media. There's always something new to talk about, and 910 AM Superstation wants to have you covered from every angle. So we're adding some familiar voices and strong opinions to the best talk radio station in town.
I'm Republican, from Detroit, and I'm black. Yeah, that's right. Different perspective, different view. Don't miss the Wayne Bradley Show on Superstation 910 AM.
From 7 to 9 a.m., we'll have the editor for the Detroit News, Nolan Finley.
This is the most volatile time in the country in my professional career. And, that generates a lot of news, a lot of stuff to talk about.
Followed by the one and only David Alexander Bullock from 9 to 11 a.m.
The People Show, man, we bring it to you live and in full effect.
The always insightful and controversial Steve Niebling from 11 a.m. to noon.
And I do want to hear from you what you want to hear from me.
Bankalay Thompson from noon to 2 p.m.
This is the platform where we delve into the facts and informed opinion. We ask the tough questions.
The Cliff Russell Show from 2 to 4 p.m.
I don't care how much you know until I know how much you care.
Spud from 4 to 6 p.m.
Detroit's only African-American talk station, 24/7 Spud, is here.
Rochelle Riley from 6 to 7 p.m.
I want to stress that this adventure is about life in Detroit and Michigan.
And Cliff Woodards from 7 to 9 p.m.
So this is it, y'all. We are the only talk radio station for African-Americans in this market.
910 AM Superstation, the only African-American talk radio station in town.
It's the Wayne Bradley Show, analytical radio, giving you what you need to know. Listen up, it's the Wayne Bradley Show. It's the Wayne Bradley Show, analytical radio, giving you what you need to know. Listen up, it's the Wayne Bradley Show. That's what it is.
And welcome back to the Wayne Bradley Show. We just had a caller call in and was kind of, talking about what I've always said in terms of having folks at the table on both sides. And, John, I want to thank you for calling in with that insight. In terms of some of our, you said, educated Negroes being scared of the white man. I don't know if the scared is the right word, but a lot of these educated Negroes are trying to survive and keep a career. And you can't fault them for that if that's what we're, looking at. And I've always said the smartest thing Mike Duggan has done is anybody that potentially could cause him a problem as an opponent, they all work for him. So everybody's prospering, as you would say. And so let's go to our next caller. We've got Rick on the line. Rick, thanks for calling into the Wayne Bradley Show.
Hey, good afternoon, man. I was just going to add there, I can agree with a lot of your expose on the Democratic Party and how they handle constituent input. But I think it's true for the Republicans.
Okay.
Is correct, but I don't think the Republicans have put in either a plan, a method, some language on how they're going to be inclusive with other people in the community, people at and below the poverty level, and people who are not there. And no real application, no methodology for doing this. Nothing that gives a person enough pause to say when I share something, they know they're going to use it. They got it in some way, shape, or form, and they're going to use it when it's time to define problems, when it's time to select solutions, when it's time.
Well, I think that is the part where I do, and I agree with you to a certain degree, I think, but that's the part where we as a community have to be at both tables. For example, I'll say this. The Michigan Republican Party has had an office in Detroit at 7 Mile and Livernois for the last 4 years. And they've never closed it they've kept it open year round. And they've had community events. They've hosted forums with all kind of elected officials. And I think that.
I add something, though.
Mm-hmm.
I would just add that I think that was definitely a sign of change.
Right.
But it still does not create the language we need.
Right.
We still don't have that methodology that we need in place.
Well, I think what you're talking about is more of the legislative side, actually stuff being put to paper.
No.
Are you talking about just the language, communications?
Yes, I'm talking about the language right at the bottom and up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about that method. When Ms. Martha calls in about her complaint, who handles it, how is it handled, and who will have it when it's time for it to come up later to be used in defining problems, picking some of these grandiose solutions. That part of it.
Okay.
That's the key part. And whoever gets that first is going to really have an edge for some years to come, I think.
All right. Well, thank you, Rick, for giving me some insight, and I'm taking notes on that, and I appreciate you calling in.
Let me add this to that.
Go ahead.
Let me add this to that. Go to make3.com and get an idea of a supplement to that suggestion, that we've come up with from our own experience.
You said May 3?
Make 3, MATE, the number 3.com.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Rick. Rick, I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
All right. We've got Reen Lee on the line. Reen Lee, thanks for calling in.
Hey, yeah, I had just tuned in where you're talking about 4 more years for Trump. He's barely getting through the first year. And by the second year, that investigation is going to wind down. And, yeah, he'll get 4 years, or at least his son will get 4 years because he's exempt from going to jail. But, there's talk about 4 years for him, it's not going to happen.
You don't even think he's going to finish out the first 4 years of his presidency?
He's not going to finish out his first term. He's not. Anyone who follows politics knows that he's not going to finish out the first term. Anybody who's honest with themselves and who knows how politics go and know how things are unfolding. There's no way that it can even say with a straight face that he has an opportunity to go 4 more years.
I don't know. I mean, I think that's the one thing. I think that's the one thing we should have learned by now is not to underestimate Donald Trump. I mean, if we're talking about any typical politician, I might agree with you.
All of the people who find it's like with the kneeling and everything and the flag situation.
Right.
All of the people who support Trump, they find ways to twist everything into a pretzel. They find ways to everything that he says. They find an excuse and a way to give an understanding. Oh, that's not what he means. But when it comes to the players, everybody has this tunnel vision that it's all about the flag.
I agree with you on that. Now you won't get me to defend that.
So, I just don't see him finishing as far as local politics. Duggan and all the money behind him. He's got the people. He's even paid off people as far as giving them jobs and stuff like you said.
Right.
And on the other side, those who don't agree with him, he attacks them and finds ways to undermine them, unofficially. They'll send out, even with the water thing and cutting off the water over at Coleman Young's office. They're very vindictive and attacking people who disagrees with them, and those things go unsaid and unspoken. But I know for sure because I've been subjected to the Duggan administration's vindictiveness, and but it doesn't stop me from speaking up about them. But it's just the cards are going to play out. Duggan's going to win another 4 years. It's good for the city in one way, but we've got to get back to our neighborhoods.
I think
I hope that Young has an opportunity.
I think that Young, if he would have ran for city council, he'd have been a much bigger problem. and could have been a thorn in the side of the mayor's office for the next 4 years because, like you said, Duggan's going to win. But maybe if you'd have ran for a city council seat, and that to me, he would have more political experience in another political position. But the leadership position as mayor is just
local.
Yeah, that to me, he needed some time to do that, and I'm sure whoever convinced him to run now probably regrets some of that. But I just think he needed more political seasoning and really leadership training. That's what I look at it as, more leadership training dealing with the budgets.
Yeah, that's true.
Before he was willing to
but
challenge.
On the national level, Trump's not going to make it 4 years. He's not going to finish out this term.
All right,
and then they're zooming in on him.
Well, they're definitely trying, but I appreciate you for calling in, Ring. Thanks again.
Thanks for taking my call.
No problem. All right, we got Olaf. Olaf is on the line. Thank you for calling in.
Oh, man, I told you I was going to call Sunday. I had to call and holler at the only Republican I ever had love for. What's up with your brother?
Nothing much. How you doing today? Right? I'm doing good. Just a Sunday. Brother. I'm feeling definitely more wide awake here at 1 o'clock. So thank you for calling in.
My man. It's funny you mentioned your Republican office over there in Livernois being open. I rode by there actually last night on my way to Baker's. 313 was down there, and Racy Biggs was down there at Baker's Keyboard Lounge.
Right.
I didn't know that office was still open, man.
Yeah, man. No, we haven't. We've never shut it down. Now, my office manager used to work with me is in D.C. now, so she's blossomed into other things, but we're still there. Yeah. I still take a lot of meetings there. We still do our community forums. We've got Tom Leonard coming in a couple weeks. He'll be there. So it should be interesting hearing him talk about the insurance reform and the gun rights bill that he put out there. So, we definitely use office, and I'm sure now that political season's warming up, you'll see a lot of our Senate candidates and all of our statewide candidates popping up through there. So. And to me, that's a small commitment, but it shows that it's a year-round, full-time commitment. I don't have to tell people to meet me at a Starbucks or meet me here. I'm like, no, come to the office. Let's sit down and talk. Right. What are your issues? I've had people who wanted to use the office for different things, and we've worked with them on that. So, to me, it's a community hub, and it shows the commitment of the Michigan Republican Party. Continue and again, this is the third chairman I've worked under, and they all have continued that commitment of that office. And so it just shows again that, in particular, the Michigan Republican Party is leaps and bounds ahead of other state parties in the way they in their terms of commitment to outreach. And I'm very proud to work with them on that. So yes, sir.
Yeah. Like I said, I didn't know that office open. When I rode by, it was pitch black, man. You know what I'm saying?
It was Saturday. It was
shut down for business.
Oh no.
It was about 7:30, 8 o'clock. So yeah, y'all probably was closed. You know what I'm saying? I thought y'all was closed for business for good though, man.
No, you ought to come by there during the week one day or something. We're definitely there. Yeah. And we're going to be recruiting some more folks, working with some of the Wayne State University students. So. Oh, no, we're open, and like I said, as election time ramps up, you'll see a lot of activity coming out of there. So I'm looking forward to another year of campaign season.
That's good stuff. But real quick, brother, I'm not going to get into your boy Trump today. He's a joke. He's a character. I'm not going to get on your man Trump.
Oh, Trump is doing. You got to come on. Let's give him some credit. You got to give him some credit where credit is due. Come on now. I know it hurts a lot of folks to admit that. He's not doing – the media blows everything out of proportion, but I think he's doing a pretty decent job as president.
Yeah. Well, when you go and say about how he's done things lately in Puerto Rico, this guy was over there throwing towels like he was throwing basketballs through a hoop to people whose island just got ravaged.
No. I think what they were doing there in that room, they were clearly getting excited because their president was in the room, and they were just yelling, Trump, Trump. And so he was just tossing them out there to his fellow supporters, his fellow Americans. It wasn't that bad.
Oh, I see. So President Obama would have came down to Flint during the water crisis.
But he didn't. But Olaf, he didn't come to Flint. Let's start with that. Because you know who did come to Flint? Donald Trump.
Mm-hmm.
I never saw Obama there. They were used. You know why Obama didn't want to go there? You know why Obama didn't want to go there? It was because it was his EPA that dropped the ball first. President Obama wanted nothing to do with that. His EPA went there.
Sure it was your man? You sure that it was your man Snyder? Your man Snyder who dropped the ball.
No. He didn't drop the ball first. He didn't drop the ball first. Now, he might have dropped the ball because every level of government let Flint down. But the first people to go there and thought that it was not a big deal was President Obama's EPA. Right. And that lady has been fired. Obama fired her. You see what I mean? So let's start with that. No, he never would have went to Flint. Let's get a better comparison. Let's say if Obama went to Chicago. But you know what? He didn't go to Chicago either. Right. He didn't go to Chicago either. Oh, now look at the lines. People are getting mad about that. I guess I made some folks mad about that. Ooh, wee. Lines are getting getting a little hot.
I always tell you. No, listen, Wayne, I always tell you, as a starch Democrat, as a Democrat slappy, I can go on both sides of the aisle, and I would chastise Republicans just like I will chastise Democrats.
Yes,
and
sir.
Obama did go to Flint at the end of his last year of his presidency. Remember, he went down there, and he told those people, look, go ahead and drink the water.
Oh, yeah, that's right. He lied to the folks. I forgot about that.
Go down there.
Yeah, you're right. He did. I stand corrected. He had the cup with the glass of water.
Yep, from under the podium. He told those people to drink that damn water. And I had a problem with that because I shouldn't have brought that up. But at the time,
you're killing me. You're killing me. You're making my argument for me, Olaf. I hate to say it, man. You're doing a better job arguing it for me.
I am because I will get down on those Democrats as well. So you know what I'm saying? Yeah, and now I'm saying just like when the other dude called in and he bashed on Nancy and Chuck Schumer. They're weak Democrats. They're cowards, and they have not done anything for black agendas in the hood since they've been in office. They haven't.
And why do you think people like Brenda Lawrence continue to listen to their advice? Why does Brenda Lawrence won't step out on her own and do what the 14th District needs her to do? Why is she spending more time in places like Flint? When the Flint situation, you saw her up there giving speeches, but she doesn't speak up for the 14th District. Why do I see her speaking up on the Michigan State police officer needs to step down when she's not even in Michigan? She's speaking on that. She seems to go for the hot button issues, and so that keeps her relevant, but she's not doing anything really on the agenda side.
And I will bash her too because I heard when she was mayor of. I know who Brenda Lawrence is. When she was mayor of Southfield, she was a poor politician and a poor mayor. And like I said, I will bash these Democrats when they do right, and I give them credits. When they're doing right now, and I'll bash them when they're doing wrong. You know what I'm saying? Like Duggan. I like Duggan. I voted for him the first time, and I will vote for this man again. You know, I get a lot of kickbacks from my uncles.
You sound like a common sense kind of guy, Olaf. That's why me and you connect.
Because it's not about color, man. It's about the man that can do the job.
That's it.
It's about the man that can do the job.
That's it. I agree.
You know what I'm saying?
I agree, Olaf.
I don't care about color. You know, so why I gotta be an Uncle Tom in a sample?
Man, you know, welcome to my world, Olaf. Welcome to my world. I get called that at least once a day on social media. So welcome to my world. So thank you, man. Hey, listen, Olaf, I appreciate you calling in. Me and you, you got to come by the office one of these days. Let's sit down and chat and just see what some issues of commonality that we can work on together, brother. I invite you to do that.
Yeah. Okay. Don't hold your breath, brother. But we'll keep
Thanks a lot, man. Thanks for calling in, brother.
Man, have a good one, man.
You do too. Brother. You do the same. All right, we're gonna go to Sharon, who's on the line. Sharon, thank you for calling in. Sharon, you're on the line. You're on the Wayne Bradley Show. Sharon, you got to cut off that radio.
Oh, sorry. What I want to know is what Trump has done that was so good. What you're saying, he's doing a pretty good job. I'm sick of hearing the generalities.
Well, Trump, what he's had to do, unfortunately, because the Congress is not moving fast enough, he's had to do a lot of the executive orders, getting rid of a lot of the regulations and things that Obama was doing that was, slowing down jobs and slowing down growth. So that's what he's been doing.
Regulations that he's getting rid of may increase growth right now, but they're going to poison your children later. They're bad for our health. They're bad for our water. They're bad for our land.
Some of them have nothing to do with just the regulation. Talking about environmentally, I'm talking about financial regulations. I'm talking about, again, we're working on tax reform right now. Those are the things that are going to help America grow.
Tax reform is only going to give us a tax break for the rich.
Who creates the jobs? Who creates those jobs, Sharon? Have you ever got a job from a poor person? Who creates those jobs? I've never got a job from a poor person. Have you?
But no. But the poor people spend the money. I mean,
you can't spend money if you don't have jobs.
If you don't have a customer, you don't have a business.
Right. But if you can't be a customer if you don't have a job. And to be a customer, you need a job.
There's a balance somewhere, and we need to find the balance.
The balance needs to be that we make our tax rates competitive with these other countries, so places like Burger King don't go to Canada.
Our overall tax rate is not the highest.
And not the highest in the world, but it's the highest out of developed countries that participate globally in the economy. Okay, we're way above some of the other countries that are, again, snagging away our companies and going there because it's a simpler tax code. The rates are lower, and
they're snagging away companies because the people who have companies here choose to do that, like Ivanka Trump.
Well, wait a minute. They choose to do that because they want to stay in business. You're in business to create. You're in business though to create income. You're in business to make money. You're not in business. It's not a charitable organization, and so if you can.
You can make a reasonable profit here.
Well, who determines it's a reasonable profit? Me, you, or the person that owns the business?
Well, I guess the person who owns the business can determine that, and apparently for the Trumps, it's never enough because she had all of her clothes made in a foreign country.
Who makes their clothes in America nowadays? Who's making their clothes in America nowadays at a mass production level?
Joe Biden's brother.
Does Gap, does Nike, does anybody who sells clothes on a mass level make their clothes in America? I mean, this is like a argument that if we you know why they do that again? It's because again our tax rates are higher. We have to pay folks these demanding the wage.
Rate of living wage here, and if there's no America first, and they have a lot of money anyway, so this is just a hobby for her. Why didn't she try making those clothes in America and create jobs for the American people? She didn't.
To produce some of the things we're looking at in mass production, it just is not feasible in America because of the wages and situations, but also because of the tax rates and everything else. It's not just it's a large problem. Again, small businesses in America right now, the manufacturing businesses, these are the businesses we're looking at and trying to grow. They need those tax cuts. They need those breaks to create and hire more people.
The manufacturing that Trump is talking about bringing back those jobs aren't coming back.
No, it can be more. It can be more jobs created. Even now, as a liberal, you sound like a liberal. Don't you like the idea of a green economy, creating more jobs in recycling and things like that? That's a manufacturing business.
That's what he was doing. Yes, there were a lot of jobs created during President Obama's term in the green.
Well, no, wait a minute. The difference between those jobs, they couldn't survive without government subsidies. Those aren't real jobs.
So that's at the beginning.
If they can't survive without government subsidies, those aren't real jobs. And most of those companies that we helped out during the Obama administration failed. Solandra, 400, they failed. They could not survive. If you can't survive without the government subsidy, you're not a job. That's not a real job. It's not a real business.
That all of the cattle ranchers and things aren't subsidized. Their cows and things feed on government land.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, well, they're subsidized. It's called corporate welfare.
They all some get it, but again, they can still a lot of them can survive in a different manner. They're paid not to farm. Some people are paid not to farm, so it's a big difference between what we're talking about and what Tesla and these companies, Solandra, that can't operate without the federal funding. So
in the beginning, when you're just starting a new technology, you do need to subsidize it until it gets popular and you create the demand for it and people realize that it's going to
Tesla still can't survive without that. And so they're popular.
Okay,
so, Sharon, I gotta wrap this call up. I appreciate you calling in today because I like getting folks from both sides of the aisle calling in and talking to issues. But I do appreciate you calling in. We've got to go to a break. You are listening to the Wayne Bradley Show on 9:10 a.m. Your superstation. We'll be back shortly.
It's the Wayne Bradley Show, conservative political radio, giving you what you need to know. Listen up. It's the Wayne Bradley Show. It's the Wayne Bradley Show. Conservative political radio. Giving you what you need to know. Listen up.
910 AM Superstation. Giving you exactly what you need by any means necessary. Thank you for calling 910 AM Superstation. What's your question or comment?
Calling in 910 is great, but I think we need an actual forum with people of substance that want to stop what's going on. You mentioned something about demand grind. My son just turned 16. Don't think for a minute. I don't think about that every minute of the day. The protest is fine. We got to get together, funding, whatever, to stop this.
We don't even expect the people with the problem to be involved. We expect people to be there who got a pile of data and say, well, this is what's happening, and we need to do this and this. And then when it's time to go to the legislature, they don't have any support because they built it all themselves. So I think if we just start with defining the problem and allowing people to have their share in there, I think we'll go a long way in improving organizing and advocacy for the average person.
910 AM Superstation, the voice of Detroit. If the conversation is hot and the lines are jammed, give us a try at 313-778-7600 or 313-778-7601. That's 313-778-7600 or 313-778-7601.
910 Superstation is off the chisane.
910 AM Superstation is the voice of Detroit, and we want to hear what you have to say by any means necessary. 910 AM Superstation is in a league of its own. We are the only talk radio station in the Metro Detroit area sensitive to the African American community.
Make sure you join us on what station?
910 AM the Superstation.
910 AM.
910 AM. On 910 AM Superstation.
910 AM Superstation, Metro Detroit's only African American based talk radio station. 910 AM Superstation. We're bigger and better than ever and growing daily.
I'm Dr. Taylor. This is my inaugural show. Just a few things about me. I'm happy to be here to be part of the Superstation team. This program, we want to talk about addiction, which is a really broad subject. It covers a whole lot of things. I ask you to call in if you want to talk to me on the air about anything. We have online Sandra.
You have been my mentor for years. I look up to you. So, and I talk about you all the time to people. So I think that what you've done proved to other people that they can do whatever they want to do with their life. And that's helped me get back up too, because I was an alcoholic at one time. And I've been sober for 12 years on September 15th.
910 AM is the gold standard for talk radio. Be sure to catch Doing the D with Alexander Zonchek right here on 910 AM Superstation.
And you know what that means? Lots of cool stuff. Hey, if you love gospel and jazz and Motown cruises and holiday festival concerts in Monroe, we've got it all right here for you.
I want to say thank you for all you do, all you give us. We, your fans, we just love you. And you know
I appreciate that, Phyllis. Thank you so much. It's uncomfortable to get compliments to do something that you love doing so much, but I appreciate it.
The voice of Detroit, Sundays from 5 to 7 p.m. 910 AM Superstation is the voice of the people. Don't believe me? Just listen.
I listen all the time. Great radio personalities.
The new mobile site is incredible. With the visual live feed, this is a whole new level for community broadcasting. I'm also very impressed with the Bible section present both in a written and audio format. 910 AM has really stepped it up to a whole new level.
Tune in, call in, and don't forget to find us on social media. Great news. 910 AM Superstation is growing, and you can watch as well as listen anywhere you go. The 910 AM Superstation app is now supported on iPhone, iPad, Android phone, Android tablet, Amazon Kindle Fire, Windows Phone, Apple TV, and Roku. 910 AM Superstation, the voice of Detroit.
The 910 AM Superstation family and the listeners in the metropolitan Detroit area want to wish on-air host Cliff Russell a speedy recovery. Get well soon, Cliff. Your wit, perspective, and wisdom is missed on the airwaves.
910 AM Superstation gives you the flip side, the real side. This is our side.
3, 2, 1.
You're listening to 910 AM Superstation, Detroit's only urban talk radio station. You're listening to 910 AM Superstation, Detroit's only urban talk radio station.
It's the Wayne Bradley Show. Conservative Political Radio. Giving you what you need to know. Listen up. It's the Wayne Bradley Show. It's the Wayne Bradley Show. Conservative Political Radio. Giving you
and welcome back to the Wayne Bradley Show live on 910 AM, your superstation. Looks like I got a couple people still calling in. Might have triggered a couple libs this afternoon. Give us a call, 313-209-9000. Again, that's 313-209-9000. So, I think folks have been a little upset about the fact that I was being a little honest about, some of what these Democrats have done, taking our communities for granted and things of that nature. I think I've got someone else on the line here waiting for me. I got Wilson on the line. I'm going to go to Wilson. Wilson, thank you for calling in today. Welcome to the Wayne Bradley Show. Wilson, can you hear me? Wilson. All right, I guess Wilson.
Hello?
Wilson, can you hear me?
Hello?
Hey, Wilson.
Hello?
Hello, Wilson.
Hey, good afternoon. Hello, can you hear me?
I sure can, sir. Cut your radio down.
Good afternoon. My radio's not on, sir.
Okay, yes, I can hear you. How you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Just enjoying my Sunday here,
Okay. I spoke to you once before, and I hope that you will just allot me some of the time that you've allotted some of the past callers. I had a question for you.
Go ahead.
Well, yeah, give me. I asked you a question that you never answered. And you punted it till you told me, well, we'll talk about this next week. You didn't have an answer for me. Then you knew that the following week that you were going to be in Mackinac.
Well, I don't remember. Now you got my brain is fuzzy here. What was the conversation,
Okay,
Wilson? Let's go. Let's do it.
Okay, here's the question. First of all, let me ask you this question. Can I ask you approximately how long have you been a Republican?
Since 1996. Jack Kemp and Bob Dole.
Okay, good enough. Can you tell me 5 things?
Oh, here we go again. Oh, I remember this guy. Now I remember him.
I'm sure
5 things that Republicans that have done. Was it for Black America or was it just, I forgot, something? It was something.
Not for
Go
Black
ahead.
Americans. I didn't. I'll repeat it for you. Can you tell me just 5 things that the Republican Party has done for the masses? Not for the corporate elite, not for the wealthy, but for the 40-hour-a-week people.
They've created more jobs, one. I mean, because for me, this is it all starts with, the last lady called in talking about the rich. Well, who creates the jobs, Wilson? Who creates those jobs?
Hold on, sir. Hold on, Wayne.
So tax reform.
Hold on. Let me just address it as we go along. Brief.
Okay, we're going to try this.
Once again, it's a lie, just like you lied about Barack not going to Flint.
I didn't lie. Barack, he went to Flint after nothing happened, so I just forgot about it. I agree with him that.
Well, it was a lie. So
it's not a lie. It's the difference between trying to make him look bad. I clearly said, I forgot about that. I forgot he came up there and lied about the water was all good. But it didn't mean nothing. Go ahead.
Let me say this then. Barack Obama had over 75 months of consecutive job growth, the longest in the history of the American economy.
Thank goodness for that Republican Congress he had in there.
that didn't do anything but block.
Create ways for businesses to be successful.
Everything. The Republican Congress ratings was at 6% when Barack Obama left office, Wayne.
It's not much higher now. It's not that much higher now with President Trump. So what does that mean?
Yeah, but they did nothing. But let me, because you're not going to answer the question.
Enterprise zones have benefited urban America. Infrastructure projects that the Republican Party.
What infrastructure?
Hold on, wait a minute. You told me to go name off the stuff. If I remember correctly, the Voting Rights Act has benefited Americans. Nixon helped create affirmative action. What else do I need to do? I mean, how far do we want to go back?
Hold on, Wayne. Let me address this because you're lying again.
Oh, man.
The Voting Rights Act was created by Lyndon Johnson. Affirmative action was created by Lyndon.
Wait a minute. And who put the teeth into that? Did Nixon not finish that up and get that right for affirmative action?
No, he did not.
Come on, Wilson. Let's be honest. Who created Prince George County? Who gets credit for creating Prince George County, the wealthiest black county? Nixon.
Let me just address this. Let me make a statement because what you're trying to do is overtalk me so your listeners don't hear the truth for a change.
No, I mean, what you're doing is you're calling to interview me, and this is my show, and I've answered your questions, but it's not to your satisfaction. That's all it comes down to.
Okay, then let me make my statement.
Go ahead.
Okay?
Make your statement.
Let me, and I'll be trying to be brief. I'm gonna give a small synopsis of the Republican Party.
Please do. Go ahead.
Let's start with Herbert Hoover in '32.
All right.
What you were talking about, trickle-down economics, created the worst depression in the history of this country.
Mm-hmm.
Republicans were not in office again because of that. Rightfully so, the American voter did the right thing until Eisenhower came in. Now, Eisenhower did do something in his first term. But on his way out the door, his second term, there wasn't where he came up with the infrastructure thing. But on his way out,
I was about to say highways, the highway system.
You gonna let me?
Go ahead.
I just said that when you gonna let me finish, because you want to make my statement.
Mm-hmm.
On his way out of the door, in his second term, inflation set in. It was 7.5%.
Right.
As a matter of fact, there has not been a Republican president since Herbert Hoover, whose administration has not been accompanied with a recession up until today, because after Eisenhower left office,
mm-hmm.
Kennedy came in and cleaned it up. Kennedy left, and Nixon came in. There was a recession when Nixon left. And with Nixon, the Republican Party is the only administration in the history of this country where both execs were thrown out of office for criminal behavior, Nixon and Agnew. They both were kicked out. Then we got Jimmy Carter. Now, Jimmy Carter
the worst president ever. The worst president ever.
No, hold on. He did not do a good job with the economy.
Didn't do a good job with domestic foreign relations either.
You gonna let me finish making my
gas
statement?
prices through the roof.
You gonna let me finish making my statement?
Go ahead.
Okay, Jimmy Carter did not do a good job, but then we got Ronald Reagan that you guys love to gloat about, who was probably the worst since Trump. And don't interrupt me. Let me make a statement with Reagan. Under Ronald Reagan was a racist. He was a racist.
Oh,
his
wow.
first speech when he got the nomination was in Philadelphia, Mississippi, and he was talking about states' rights. And for those listeners who don't know about Philadelphia, Mississippi, that's where the 3 civil rights workers, Goodman, Cheney, and Swanner, were killed down there recruiting blacks to vote. He gave a speech there to kick off his nomination, saying that if he had been president, he would have left it up to the states to investigate.
All right, come on, Wilson. Come on, wrap this thing up. Come on.
Okay, if you just give me a chance. Over 135 people were investigated, indicted, or convicted under Ronald Reagan. And George H.W. Bush, who preceded him, pardoned 6 of them. Carter, Weinberger, McFarland, Poindexter, and the host of them. Then we got Daddy Bush, who came in. There was a recession under him. Clinton came in, and we've never had the job growth any president in modern history.
Because he had Newt Gingrich in Congress leading the whole change for America. He listened to Newt Gingrich. The best thing that ever happened to Bill Clinton was Newt Gingrich. I mean, because I've given you like 10 minutes. You're not the host of the show. Come on now. You're not being totally honest.
He had the vision, and
he had Newt Gingrich.
Then we got your boy George W. Bush.
We
all know what happened when he got in.
He was cleaning up Bill Clinton's mess, but he was an honorable man and never he was cleaning up Bill Clinton's mess. Bill Clinton said everybody needs to be a homeowner, which was I'm just saying you're not being honest. You're not being. You're only telling part of the truth. You're only telling part of the truth. Come on, Wilson.
When Clinton left office, the national debt.
The books were cooked. The books were cooked. The books were cooked. You know it, and I know it, Wilson. That bubble, the bubble burst the minute he walked out of office. Listen. Bill Clinton gets a lot of credit for a lot of things. The books were cooked. He left this country unsecure. 9/11 happened right after he leaves office. Huh? The books were cooked. Everything, all these financial industries were cooked because Bill Clinton put the pressure on banks to make bad loans. Bill Clinton was the start. He was the start of the down spiral of the economy there, Wilson.
Man, it was 3.8% economic growth under Bill Clinton.
It was cooked. The books were cooked. MCI was the first company, all that stock growth that you're talking about through the bubble burst the minute he left office, and he was the beginning.
Bush took office.
No, it has nothing to do with Bush. It was the fact that those policies were already in place, just like our security was compromised. Finish up, man. I didn't know this is the Wilson show. Go ahead, Wilson. Finish up.
No. George W. Bush came in and gave 2 tax breaks unpaid for. We had, 2 wars unpaid for, a tax break unpaid for, and Medicare Part D unpaid for. He went through the $5 trillion in the treasury. You can even check John Kasich with that. And then he spent an additional $8 trillion on the wars, which were unpaid for. So tell the truth, Wayne. You've been lying since I've been listening to you.
No, Wilson. I appreciate your historic perspective, but it's only one. You're not giving the whole perspective.
I'm giving facts, sir.
You're giving one-sided facts. You're not giving all the facts.
And I tell you what,
sometimes when they catch bank robbers, they tell facts too, but they don't tell all the facts.
Let me make this statement. I'm gone.
Go ahead, Wilson.
Any listener who wants to check out what I'm saying, check the Labor Department of Statistics on the Republicans from Hoover up into George W. Bush. There's only one set of facts, sir. Only one set of facts, and you
tell them all. You got to tell them all, Wilson. Thank you so much, Wilson. I appreciate you calling in. We had a quick break to the Wilson show, and Wilson had, like I said, he told his one side of the story, and I can appreciate that. But we appreciate you coming on, Wilson. All right, we're going to go to John. John's only been waiting a minute. He's had to listen. Hey, John.
Hey, Mr. Bradley.
Yes, sir.
Just chill and listen to the gentleman. The gentleman put straight facts on the table.
He didn't tell them all. I didn't deny that he wasn't telling facts, John. I never said that.
Mr. Bradley, you kept interfering and interrupting.
Because he's not telling all the facts. He's only telling one side of it.
Let him tell his facts, and then you go back and check your facts.
No, you can't spread out 10 pages worth of his only half information, and then expect me to come in and clean up. That's what Democrats do. Democrats leave a mess, and then expect Republicans to come and clean it up. I'm not doing that. I'm going to come in right then and there. He called. Listen, this is the Wayne Bradley show. It's not the Wilson show. He called in. He wants to give his facts. Then give his facts. But I'm going to help him out with those facts. I'm going to hold his hand. If you want to call in and give facts, then give all the facts. If I had to hold your hand to do that, I will do so. And that's what he did. I give you the opportunity to come on here and be honest. I'm going to always do that. But if you're not going to be all the way honest, then I'll help you with that. He gave his facts, and I'm helping him with all the facts. That's all I was doing.
You ain't helping him.
That's all I was doing. I'm helping my listeners. Because they didn't call to hear Wilson. They called to hear Wayne Bradley. So I'm helping him out, giving the facts. That's all I was doing, John. He obviously does. He's only giving one side of the facts. He calls with these open-ended questions. I answer his questions. Now he doesn't like the answers. So now he has to go break out the source to give me all these other information, but he's not giving all the facts. Just like giving Bill Clinton credit for that economy without giving it to Newt Gingrich is just not being honest, John. Come on, John. Be honest with yourself.
I want you to be a good talk show, but you sound on the ignorant side to a certain extent.
Oh, I'm on the ignorant side. I didn't deny his facts. Did I deny his facts, John? Am I being a fact denier?
Yeah, but you
No, am I being a fact? How can I be ignorant if I'm agreeing with his facts? And all I'm doing is offering auxiliary facts as well.
You better go find that.
Huh?
You do like your thing and tell people where to go find it at.
I don't have a problem going to the Justice Department or whatever department he suggested. Go ahead. The Labor Department. That's great. But he's not. Again, you can't just give one side of the facts, John.
What you expect him to do? He got his facts.
I have my facts, and they were. He's not denying what I was saying is untrue either, John. If you notice that he didn't call what I was saying lies.
What were you saying?
I didn't call what he said lies. I'm just saying that when you don't give, if there's 100% facts, if one person gives 50% of the facts and I give 50% of the facts, then we're just giving 100% of the facts, John. That's all.
Yeah,
come on, John. Come on, John. That's how we do it around here. We don't. I allowed him. Now, you know, a lot of these radio hosts. Listen, a lot of radio hosts would cut the guy off. Give me credit. Give me credit for that. When most radio hosts cut a guy off that's trying to tell him he's wrong about it, I gave him all the time. Go ahead.
I appreciate that, but Bradley, you kept interrupting.
Oh, but that's because he wasn't giving all the facts. I was just helping out with the facts. I was just helping out with the facts, John. That's my job. I was just helping out.
Go do what he said. He could go where he find it at. And he gave up a well information knowledge about.
I didn't deny that he didn't. I never denied that he didn't. I was just giving the auxiliary and helpful facts to go along with his. So they all lined up together.
You tried to deny that he was right, though.
I never denied that he was right. I just said he needed more of the facts to go along with it. Listen, there was a great economy during the Bill Clinton era. But the fact is that Newt Gingrich and his debt and his solutions in Congress is what made that work. Bill Clinton signed off on Newt Gingrich's ideas. So let's give him credit for that. Let's give Bill Clinton credit for that.
They kicked Newt Gingrich out of the office. They overturned Newt Gingrich, all his programs. They kicked him out of the Republican Party.
During the time when he was kicked out of office for other things, during the time that the deal for America that Newt Gingrich did, and that Bill Clinton also participated in welfare reform. So again, I give credit to where credit is due. I am glad that Bill Clinton followed under the leadership of Newt Gingrich to get those bills done for America.
You sound real stupid, man. I ain't lying to you.
Oh man, you just don't like that harsh reality sometimes, and I understand it. I understand, my friend.
I'm laugh at you for keeping people crying. You sound pretty stupid.
I appreciate it.
You could cut the government down. You remember that? He closed the government down. You remember that?
They all have tried to do that.
I said Newt Gingrich.
Sometimes you have to shut. I don't think it's ever good shutting down government, but sometimes it has happened. But, you know, it's more of a legislative process than anything else. We always find some commonality in there, John. You know, that's all it is. Sometimes some people don't even want to admit that we have these commonalities. Thanks again, John, for calling in today. I appreciate it, my friend. All right, we're gonna go to Marcus, because Marcus is just calling in. Marcus, thank you for calling the Wayne Bradley Show. How you doing today, sir?
I'm doing well. I don't understand why you are trying to blame Bill Clinton for the housing bubble that occurred in 2008. But maybe the
housing bubble started in 2003, 2004, and it was because he was in 1996. He thought it was a good idea for every homeowner in America to become a homeowner. And that's when all the loose lending practices started. That's when all the subprime lenders, it takes a while for those bad loans to come to fruition. You know, it started in 98, 99. And so that was all. It just took a while for those loans. You know, people were writing 5-year, no interest ARMs. So guess what? In 5 years, people have been paying those low mortgage payments. And in 5 years, which was 2003, 2004, people started missing those payments. So their payments skyrocketed. They were taking 2- and 3-year ARMs and all that stuff. You can't even do that anymore because, you know, the way the industry has changed. But, yes, no, that started in 1996.
Why can't you do those anymore?
Well, some of it's part of Dodd-Frank, and some of it's because those lenders are out of business.
Dodd-Frank. It was Dodd-Frank that was passed by the Democrats.
They put that in place. Look, they put that in place to protect consumers, but it's done such a good job of protecting consumers now that they can't get home loans, and that's the point. You can overdo something. Government can have good intentions with a lot of things they do, but just like with health care, it was meant to be the Affordable Health Care Act. Now it's become the Unaffordable Health Care Act. Government has good intentions.
The housing.
The housing bubble was created from Bill Clinton.
You're saying that
1996.
You're saying that in 1996,
Bill Clinton wanted everyone to become homeowners. Yes.
So I'm going to just set aside the fact that George W. Bush campaigned in 2000 for presidency on an idea of an ownership society.
An ownership society, right?
Deregulating the Wall Street banks. When Nancy Pelosi was Speaker of the House, they passed Dodd-Frank. The current occupant, who can't pass anything, even though he has all the votes, he can't pass anything. They're trying to undo the remedies that you just said. You said Dodd-Frank was helping people. It was helping.
No, it didn't help people. It was a law that made it harder for banks to do those kind of loans again. Some of it was predatory. But a lot of those companies aren't in business anymore. They're not even doing loans at all. Go back to, Countrywide, Option One, New Century Mortgage, all these companies that were doing the subprime lending, they're not even existing anymore. But you know what? Who's lost out in this Dodd-Frank? Community banks. They can't make the FHA loans. They can't do some of the things that they wanted to do to help people in their communities become homeowners. And so that you can fine tune some of this stuff.
Still in business,
huh?
Many of the banks are still in business.
But they're in business, but they're not lending to the community.
Dollars and my taxpayer dollars.
But they're not lending out. They're not lending out.
Exactly. They're not lending out. They took our taxpayer. They blew up the economy thanks to Bill Clinton, as you're saying, and other people. They blew up the economy. They took your taxpayer dollars. They took my taxpayer dollars, and they're not lending it out. So they have the money. They got their money.
They got reimbursed. Yes, they did. A lot of them did. And that's my point. So now we can't buy now. And so again, that's why you have to refine or change what's going on in Dodd-Frank, because now people have learned from their mistakes in the past. You can't buy property the way you used to. And as a realtor, it's harder to sell property because people can't get financed. And the same people that we wanted to protect, which were the low-income people, people that might be subject to predatory lending, those same people now want to be able to buy a house and they can't do it. And that's just the reality of government sometimes, is that the same people they want to help are the same people they end up hurting with some of the policies. And that's what Dodd-Frank is. And that comes from multiple angles for me, in my experience in real estate and lending, is that, yes, when Dodd-Frank was created, after everything that happened, it seemed like a good idea to put all these different protections in place to protect consumers and whatnot. But now, 8 years later, 9 years later, consumers want access to buying homes again, and some of them it's not a reality that they can have. And so that's what I'm being fair. I understand why Dodd-Frank was created. It was after the financial meltdown, and the popular thinking was, hey, we got to stop predatory lending. We got to make sure these big banks never do this again. But it all started.
Why didn't your Republican friends in the House support Dodd-Frank then?
Because they forecasted some of the things that were going to happen now. Small businesses would be affected. People that don't have the conventional channels. Typically the people that can get an FHA loan are people that work. Are employed. People, not self-employed.
Your Republicans control the House. They control the Senate. They have the signature of the president. Why aren't they passing these?
There is a priority list of things. There's a priority list of things that they're trying to do.
Aren't the prospective low income lenders?
No. You can't ask large banks to lend out when tax reform is not fixed the right way. You can't ask them to lend out when regulatory reform is out of whack. So there's a process to that, and that's just one of the different issues that's involved that makes it hard. Again, if you let me finish, what I was saying is, in terms of lending itself, Now, the only way you can get a loan, if you're someone that's worked for a company, has a W-2 employee, has 2 years solid, maybe 4 years solid job history at one place. It's very hard now to get a loan compared to in 19.
So why do we need tax reform and regulatory reform first?
Tax reform creates. Well, again, this is not. I'm not the economist here. I'm telling you what it comes out the White House. Tax reform, healthcare reform. These are the priorities. We're going to get to all these different things. Best believe there are banks. No. Best believe banks want some different regulatory reform as well, because again, the people that they try to protect the most, and we can argue about all the nuances if we want, the people they try to protect the most are the people that are being hurt by these regulations. Minorities, but small business owners.
You're obfuscating the point. If those people are so in peril and about to be harmed, why aren't they doing?
It's not that they're in peril; it's that it's stagnant. There's no growth.
Okay, whatever they are.
It's a difference between being in peril. It's a difference between being in peril than being stagnant and in growth. And a lot of times that's status quo.
So what are they doing? What are they doing?
Hey, man, that's something that Democrats and Republicans should be working on. Stop blaming that all on Republicans. Where are your Democrats? Where's Brenda Lawrence? Where's John Conyers? The people that are constituents who are affected most by this. They're sitting there with their head in the sand and don't want to bring anything to the table.
She doesn't even hold a chairmanship.
I'm just asking you, where are they at? How come they're not? The people that are affected the most in these communities are quiet on it. You expect Republicans to jump? They're quiet about it.
Mr. Bradley?
Huh?
Mr. Bradley?
Yes.
No offense, and you know this. I know you know this. When you control the House of Representatives has a very rough justice.
Mm-hmm.
You need to have the votes. You can't call anything to question. John Conyers can't put anything on the floor of the House. He's not the leader. Republicans.
How come? Where's Nancy Pelosi on this? Where's Nancy Pelosi on this?
Nancy Pelosi was the Speaker of the House. She had all the votes.
She's still a minority.
You told us how terrible. Listen to me. You asked me where she was. I'm saying she put in place Dodd-Frank. She went in there and she made sure that the banks would stop the problems that they were doing before. She had the opportunity. She was the Speaker of the House. This problem.
So how come she's not helping fix the problem now? We know that she brought that in. How come she's not fixing the problem now? How come she's not coming back to the table with solutions? That's what I'm talking about, Marcus, is solutions. We know that she did in 2008.
She's not the Speaker of the House.
How come she's not bringing that in part of the negotiations? She's willing to negotiate on DACA. How come she's not bringing in?
Aren't you? Look, there's lots of ideas that you and I have, and we have just as much power as Nancy Pelosi does.
Is that so? We have as much power as Nancy Pelosi? Hey, listen. Hey, Marcus, I got to go to a break. If you want to wait and come back on this, I'll be right back on the break. You're listening to the Wayne Bradley Show on 9:10 a.m., your Superstation. Marcus, if you want to hold on, we'll be back. I promise I wasn't trying to hang up on you there.
It's the Wayne Bradley Show, conservative political radio, giving you what you need to know. Listen up, it's the Wayne Bradley Show.
910 AM Superstation is the voice of Detroit. We've assembled an unmatched roster of talent, topics, and opinions designed to reflect the heartbeat of the city.
I am going to start up a business that involves tours of the city, the nightlife, different neighborhoods, and just people coming into the city and showing them what Detroit has to offer, and also the hidden gem. What type of advice would you give an individual like me stepping into the field?
You're almost like being a concierge to tourists that come into the city. I think it's a great idea. It requires a lot of research. Because if you're going to do that, if you're going to turn people on to everything that's going on in the city, you have to be aware of everything that's going on in the city. But anyway, I hope that helps a little bit.
You are, we are, and forever will be the voice of Detroit. .910 AM Superstation. We're the hottest station in town. Why? Because when it happens, we talk about it.
So at any point, he can
go be who he is. He's Marshall Mathers. He can go up and down the street every day, and it's over. So, but we've always had, good white people on our side, helping us during times of struggle in the movement. So yeah, I don't have a problem with what he said or how he did it. I think he was very articulate. Very articulate. I mean, he's amazing with some of his analogies he uses. The one talking about Fantastic Four and with the rocks, because he's talking about the big rock guy and he's orange. I mean, dude is brilliant, man. I mean, you just got to give it up for him as an artist. He's amazing. So for me, I don't necessarily have an issue with it, but no, I don't think he or any other person that hasn't walked in these black shoes can speak for us and what we go through.
910 AM Superstation, the best, the brightest, and the bravest voices of Detroit. There's always something new to talk about, and 910 AM Superstation wants to have you covered from every angle. So we're adding some familiar voices and strong opinions to the best talk radio station in town.
I'm Republican, from Detroit, and I'm black. Yeah, that's right. Different perspective, different view. Don't miss the Wayne Bradley Show on Superstation 910 AM.
From 7 to 9 a.m., we'll have the editor for the Detroit News, Nolan Finley.
This is the most volatile time in the country in my professional career. And, that generates a lot of news, a lot of stuff to talk about.
Followed by the one and only David Alexander Bullock from 9 to 11 a.m.
The People Show, man, we bring it to you live and in full effect.
The always insightful and controversial Steve Niebling from 11 a.m. to noon.
And I do want to hear from you what you want to hear from me.
Bankalay Thompson from noon to 2 p.m.
This is the platform where we delve into the facts and informed opinion. We ask the tough questions.
The Cliff Russell Show from 2 to 4 p.m.
I don't care how much you know until I know how much you care.
Spud from 4 to 6 p.m.
Detroit's only African-American talk station, 24/7 Spud is here.
Rochelle Riley from 6 to 7 p.m.
I want to stress that this adventure is about life in Detroit and Michigan.
And Cliff Woodards from 7 to 9 p.m.
So this is it, y'all. We are the only talk radio station for African-Americans in this market.
910 AM Superstation, the only African-American talk radio station in town. Be sure to catch Doing the D with Alexander Zonchek right here on 910 AM Superstation.
And you know what that means? Lots of cool stuff. Hey, if you love gospel and jazz and Motown cruises and holiday festival concerts in Monroe, we've got it all right here for you.
I want to say thank you for all you do, all you give us. We, your fans, we just love you. And
I appreciate that, Phyllis. Thank you so much. It's uncomfortable to get compliments to do something that you love doing so much, but I appreciate it.
The Voice of Detroit, Sundays from 5 to 7 p.m.
It's the Wayne Bradley Show, conservative analytical radio, giving you what you need to know. Listen up.
Welcome back to the Wayne Bradley Show, and I appreciate everybody that's calling in. I appreciate the folks that don't even agree with me, and I actually like a little debate, civil debate here. We just going back and forth, but we're gonna wrap up my call. My buddy Marcus, who just called in. Marcus, thank you for waiting there, my friend. Welcome back to the show. So we were just kind of going back and forth a little bit on a few different issues. But I want to give you the court. I want to give you the final word here, or at least on your end. Go ahead.
No, thank you. I appreciate that. No, I think it's very. I think Republicans look silly. They're going to stand before the voters here in a year or so. Mm-hmm. They're going to ask for what? I mean, they have been given everything. They have all the keys to the kingdom, and I think that you and those like you sound very silly when you say, what has Nancy Pelosi done? Well, what Nancy Pelosi did was rally her troops and have them call the Senate to shut down the health care bill. But the people stopped it because Republican leadership is not wanted in America. And even if it is, the leaders are so feckless that you can't even get your members together to vote on an agenda.
Well, I mean, I think, and I've always remind people with this, the difference between the Republican and Democrat Party. Democrats do stuff as a cheer group. Republicans are a big tent. We have far-ranging ideas on how government should be ran. I mean, we have some things that we have in common, but there are guys that believe that government should be at its limited form, which are, your Freedom Caucus guys, and it should be, government should only provide some very basic services. Then you have the more fiscal guys that say as long as it's running and we're not running crazy deficits and we keep our taxes low, the Paul Ryan group. And then you have the more moderate guys that, want to be, I feel like they are either in constituent areas that make them more moderate that way, or that's just naturally they are. So you have three groups inside the Republican Party. So, yeah, it's a little harder sometimes to come to consensus on things compared to Democrats who are more willing to go along with whatever Nancy Pelosi says. I mean, you got to take it back to even when President Bush was president, when he tried to privatize Social Security. It wasn't the Democrats that stood up to him. It was the Republican Party that said, Eric Cantor and them said, hey, no, we're not going to do that. And thank goodness we didn't, right? But that's my point, is that Republicans have always had this different mantra. A lot of it's been handled internally. It's only been recently now that we start using, the media and social media and all this stuff going back and forth. But we've always had the big 10 of ideas, and it's just usually been handled behind closed doors, maybe over a bottle of scotch and some debate. But it's always been that way in the Republican Party. And I think that that's what people don't understand when they're talking about how we can't simply just get this together. Well, we don't work like that. We're not monolithic thinkers. We're not going to just do something because someone tells us to do so. And it's got to make sense in terms of our principles and convictions that it's a good bill that they're willing to put their name on, compared to a lot of Democrats who Nancy Pelosi pretty much said it. You've got to just sign the bill and read what's in it afterwards. We don't do that. We just don't do that. And that's just the difference. So, Marcus, I do want to thank you for calling in and giving what I consider, hey, man, you know your facts. I'm not willing, like I said, I don't disparage people. I like to get the debate. I like to see where you're coming from. And I do appreciate it. You said that they created the bill, and I just think that they need either some tweaking to it now, because, again, it's 10 years later and things can change in 10 years. Dodd-Frank, for its time and purpose, has outlived its usefulness in terms of helping the people on the ground that need the help. So thank you again for calling in today, Marcus. I appreciate it. All right, we're going to go to Michael. Michael's on the line. Michael, thanks for calling in.
Hey, Wayne, this is the Libertarian Wayne calling in. Now, check this out. I didn't get a chance to hear your whole conversation, but what bothers me with people like Marcus is they start the conversation in the middle after you've had bad government action, and then you get a bad remedy. Well, right. Let's go back before the Clinton Community Reinvestment Act
of 1996, right?
Exactly. Before that act, mortgages was the safest investment in America.
Right.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Then you have the Democrats induce banks to behave reckless, and they basically told the banks, no matter how reckless you are, we will bail you out. And guess what we did? We bailed them out. I'm telling Marcus, let's not go back to Clinton. Let's go back to before Clinton. And before Clinton, mortgages were sound. Why? Here's something I found to be amazing. Do you realize that black banks, when they unwound all of this toxic asset stuff, black banks turned down black applicants at twice the rate of white banks? But once you tell them sugar daddy Uncle Sam will underwrite whatever you do, then you create what we call in the insurance industry a moral hazard. And then, as you said, the Republican Party is a big tent. Some of us basically said, let the banks fail.
Right.
But then you have the more moderates, or George Bush said, I am going to put aside my free market principles and undergird this law. And we were telling him, no, don't put them aside. They made bad deals, let it fail. But you're right. It's because our party has so many factions in it.
Right.
Sometimes we can't get them all together. But they are monolithically socialist. I mean, in reality, a socialist should have won if Hillary Clinton didn't steal it from him. That should tell us all we need to know about the modern Democratic power.
Well, there you go. I mean, I remind, as I was just saying with Marcus, is that, hey, listen, we never get along in the Republican Party in terms of ideas, because they're so wide ranging. But that's what makes us, the party of principles and integrity, is because we're willing to let something fail. We're willing to lose on principles or integrity before we would usually give those up. Now, in the case of the banks and the Wall Street bailouts, I think there was just too much political pressure from too many sides, the lobbyists, the different groups. And, how could we look as the country of the financial strength we are supposed to be, let these big banks fail? And that's what we got pressured into. Big banks, the big three, all these different, all the hallmarks of American success, we had to prop them up with government money. And most of them now have paid it back. So let's give them props for that. They've paid the money back, but you know, a lot of people, you know, me or you could not be bailed out like that. And I think that's the principle. A lot of, you know, libertarians and Republicans that say, hey, let it fail because, hey, they messed up. You know, other businesses can't mess up like the banks have and then turn around and have the government bail them out. And that's just the reality of business. If you take reckless loans, that is going to be that's part of the risk you assume. And the banks knew that they had the government there to bail them out. And I think that's kind of like why we're in the situation we're in. Now what you have.
Let me make this last point if I may.
Go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, I just want to make this last point. I agree with what Milton Friedman said. He said, as American citizens, we do not have a stamp on the back of our backs that says property of the U.S. government, do not mutilate, spender, or exploit. I'm sorry. There are certain things where we have to make our own choices, and if we're in a profit and loss system. The losses are just as important as the profits. Sometimes people have to go away. I mean, when we went to the iPhone versus BlackBerry, should the federal government have propped up BlackBerry? Should they have propped up ANC? When we went to digital phones and using digital cameras and we're not using Kodak, should we have kept Kodak going? The government is a poor choice at choosing who to prop up in the first place, and that's why we don't want them to do anything. The American people are better judges of what we want than the federal government. We always have been and we always will be. And I just wish the liberal Democrats would understand, and that was the paternalism you were talking about a week ago. That's their paternalism. We know what is best for the people.
Right.
And even if you don't know it, we're going to force you to have it, and then you're going to find out it didn't work, but we thought it was better.
You will not find a more paternalistic group of folks than liberal Democrat white folks when it comes to telling how to dictate what black folks need and what's good for them. It blows my mind. It blows my mind. I've never seen, Nancy Pelosi knows what's better for the hood than we do. And that's unfortunate. So, Michael, thank you for calling in today, my friend. We, like I said, the libertarian wing has always, like I said, has always been a constant debate of ideas, and I appreciate you calling in as well, my friend.
Yes, sir. Have a good weekend.
You do the same. All right. So we got a couple minutes left here, and I'm going to kind of go through the last few things that are going on here that I wanted to speak on. Obviously, we still had a couple Saints players today kneel before the anthem, and some stood during the song. Some guys are locking links today. But I just wanted to kind of give a brief synopsis of the ex-Green Beret, Nate Boyer, who writes an open letter to Trump, Kaepernick, NFL, and America. Now, for you folks that didn't know, the ex-Green Beret, Nate Boyer, is the person that told Colin Kaepernick to take a knee as opposed to just sitting down for the anthem. And, I'm not going to, like I said, I think Trump won this issue because, again, he took the issue and made it something against what he wanted and what the people wanted as opposed to just – now, could you imagine if Trump would have said, hey, I support these guys and their right to take a knee? I think that the reaction would have been okay. I think that people wouldn't have called – I think that Trump, if he would have done that, the reaction to this would have been totally different. But he chose not to do that, and he has a right to feel the way he wants to feel about it. So the Green Beret is just more than anything. He's more disappointed, and he's saying at this point now, he said that it's time to have the debate in a way that brings people together on the debate itself and not just whether he stood or kneeled during the flag or the anthem. He said it's bigger than that. And his one quote I'll leave you with on what he said was to deploy overseas, train, live with, fight alongside, and ultimately defend foreigners that you have little in common with is truly a challenging task. But returning home to a country that is so divided, so judgmental, and so hateful of one another is almost as difficult to deal with as burying a fallen comrade. That's deep. And I think that's why I kind of gave up on it, because I saw that it was people that I had personal relationships in my political world that I just realized that, you know what, this isn't the way we're going to have this debate, because they're so upset about the flag or whatnot. And then there's other guys that I felt like that They need someone to be mad at, to direct their anger at, and this week or that week or whatever, it was the NFL players, and Trump knows how to channel that as well. So I just think that NFL players would be better served at this point discussing this issue on Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and during the off season as well. So the distraction of these guys who want them to, stand during the anthem or whatever, is not the distraction anymore. And that's unfortunate, but it's just the reality of the situation, that they could do, they could do a better job on that. And I want to leave with this one thing before I take these last couple calls here, because I see the phones are blowing up on that topic as well. Trump has began dismantling Obamacare with executive order. And I'm just going to leave this here. I'll let you guys call in and see how mad you want to be about this. But my prediction is the only thing that's going to be left from Obama's legacy is Donald Trump. Ooh, that's got to hurt. The only thing that's probably going to be left from the legislative side of Obama's legacy is going to be Donald Trump. He's dismantling everything. And so what do you think about that, folks, as you're listening here the last few minutes of the show? 313-209-9000. All right, I'm going to go to, I believe, Vern. I'm going to go to Vern. Vern, thanks for calling. We got a few minutes left here. Vern, thanks for calling in.
Yes, you were talking to the caller before last that Nancy Pelosi said you could just go for it where you could read it later.
Mm-hmm.
That's what Connolly did. McConnell did, and your senator from Arizona said, we want to see what's going on. We want to see the details. That's why he voted against it, because McConnell.
Well, that's the difference. But do you see the difference in the Republican Party and convictions is that Republicans voted it down. Democrats passed that bill, and that bill had 2,700 pages in it, and she basically said, hey, read it after we pass it. And they followed blindly their leader into the abyss.
To Arizona Senator McCain, he said,
John McCain might not agree with everything John McCain did, but he showed his leadership that day. If he felt like he should have read the bill first, then doggone it, then he's been in there long enough where he can make that decision. Again, Democrats are the ones that are spineless, and they'll just follow their leader into the abyss. And John McCain wasn't willing to do that.
I don't agree with that. The spinelessness of McConnell with his dastardly behind was talking about don't let him win another time. Make him this be the one.
He said that in 2009, and he won again. Why are people so mad about that? That's a political strategy. They wanted to make him a one-term president. You don't think Democrats right now? You don't think Democrats right now are trying to make Donald Trump a one-term president? I don't think if you heard Nancy Pelosi, look, if you heard a clip of Nancy Pelosi saying our goal is to make Donald Trump a one-term president, I don't think anybody would get mad about that. But the fact was, it was McConnell who said that about Obama, so it was a racial component to it. It was all this other stuff when it was just political strategy. That's all it was. If someone said that right now about Donald Trump, there's no race.
I think about your talk earlier. I didn't get a chance to call. I didn't want to call in, but there's some other things that you stretch the truth on or parallel different kind of situations.
Stretch the truth? Do I stretch the truth, or maybe that the fact the person who called in didn't give the whole truth, and so I help expand on the truth?
You were stretching it like you would get stretched if you were coming over the horizon of a black hole. You'd be stretched so greatly. And that's how you do the truth, and you parallel stuff that doesn't make sense. It doesn't make the type of sense that reasonable people and prudent people think about, or their thought patterns go. And it's a lot of uncritical thinking is going on that tries to deviate and deceive people.
Okay.
And I think that's one of your main things, is try to deceive people with misinformation. And
I try to deceive people with misinformation. I sit here and let people give all their information out. So how do I deceive? Now, if anyone's deceiving someone, it's maybe the person that I'm allowing to give the half truth. I'm the one trying to cover and give more of the truth, not just give half the truth, Vern. So Thank you for calling in. I got a couple more calls here before I hit the door. I got to get to my next caller. We're going to Erica. Erica's calling in. There's been people really biting me today. I don't know what's going on. Erica, thank you for calling in.
Hi, Wayne Bradley. I'd like to say I'm so glad that you still come on at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Your show and Kerry Jackson's show are two of my favorites. But the reason I'm calling, one of your earlier callers, I think his name was Green Lee, he called in and he said that Mike Duggan was being vindictive by having Senator Coleman Young's water shut off. I don't believe he was being vindictive. What happened yesterday on Malik Shabazz show, he comes on at 11 o'clock on Saturday night. Gary Brown actually came on Malik Shabazz's show, and I'm hoping that Ring Lee and others who may be misinformed, he came on and he said that was not true. And he also went on to say a lady called in on Kerry's show yesterday and said something about a whole bunch of senior citizens with water shut off. They were just really, I hate to say telling a lie, but I can't think of anything else to call it. They really misrepresented the truth. And so Gary Brown was on there. He gave his personal number, and I'm sorry I don't have the number to give out because
I will repost that interview tomorrow morning on tomorrow morning's show.
The entire interview?
I will look for it and try to find it tonight, and I will try to get that clip from the interview. I'm on every morning from 5 to 7 a.m.
I know you're on. And you know what? Every morning I'm trying to be right there, and I start out there, and I'll tell you, I fall back asleep or something, huh? Yes. I'm so sorry because I really love you, and I love your show. You're so informative. You're still a young man, and you're just so smart, you and Kerry. In fact, if I were, younger, I'd probably join the Republican Party because of you and Kerry.
Well, thank you so much.
If you post that Malik Shabazz program, I'll make sure that I hear because I want everyone to hear that. Gary Brown said that was not true, and he even said there are a lot of programs to help senior citizens and others who are having problems paying their water bill. So thank you so much, Wayne. You'll be doing all of us a great service if you do.
Okay, I'll try to figure that out and get that interview for you. Thank you so much for calling in.
Thank you so much.
All right.
And keep up the good work.
Thank you so much. You have a blessed Sunday. We got one last call here. We got John calling in. John, thank you for calling the Wayne Bradley Show.
Well, thank you, Mr. Bradley. And I prefer you be on midnight because strange things can happen at midnight, in the midnight hour.
I think you want me on. I think you want me on at midnight because nobody's listening, man. You're trying to trick me, man. I'm not going on at midnight for that.
The midnight hour, strange things. But Mr. Bradley,
yes, sir.
What I want to say, read Metro Time, and that'll give you some. Read Metro Time, and that'll give you some just how these bogus capitalists so forth pretend they for the people and so forth.
All right.
You get what. You get Trump, and you get this character here in Detroit buying all these houses and so forth. Read Metro Time, and you understand what's going on. Thank you, Mr. Bradley. Have a good week.
Thank you, John. You have a good week as well. All right, I'm going to have to pick up my Metro Times and check that out. I want to thank everyone that's called in today, even the folks that called in just to argue with me. I appreciate that. I want you to try, if you can, to listen in the mornings from 5 to 7 a.m. I know that's rough for some of you folks out there, but I usually have the recorded show up by 8 a.m., so you can listen to the whole show, download it. I encourage anyone that's listening, if you're tech savvy, to go on to SoundCloud and look up the Wayne Bradley Show. You can get all my shows there, or you can get it on iTunes. So there's all kind of ways you can listen to all my shows, and or go to the website conservativebro.com. Follow me on Twitter at conservativebro. So all kind of ways you can get this information. So thanks again for everyone that called in today. It's been a great show. We're gonna, continue to bring up the issues. I don't mind my liberals calling in, giving half truths. I'm just there to provide the other side of that truth. It's a 2-lane street, and you give your lane, I give my lane, and we make it a full street together. Can't just let you give out your lane and call it truth. It's not how we work here. It's the Wayne Bradley Show. So thank you again for calling in, and I look forward to talking to you tomorrow morning at Wide Awake at 5 a.m. See you tomorrow.
Giving you what you need to know. Listen up, it's the Wayne Bradley Show. It's the Wayne Bradley Show. Conservative Political Radio. Giving you what you need to know. Listen up, it's the Wayne Bradley Show. That's what it is. It's the Wayne Bradley Show. That's what it is. Listen up, it's the Wayne Bradley Show.
910 AM Superstation, the best, the brightest, and the bravest voices in the urban community.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm an older woman. One time a person called me a bitch, and I shot him.
What did you say? Wait, Patricia. Say that. Are you serious?
Yes, I did. I don't like that word. I heard you say women love that word. No, we don't. You call me a bitch, you're going to be in trouble.
Did you get in trouble?
No. I shot him in his kitchen, and I left. So don't say black women like to be called that. Don't say that.
You don't know where the radio station is, do you?
What?
Nothing. Never mind. What? Okay, Patricia.
We're bringing you 50,000 watts of attitudes and opinions. We are 910 AM Superstation, the voice of Detroit. Be sure to catch Doing the D with Alexander Zonchek right here on 910 AM Superstation.
And you know what that means? Lots of cool stuff. Hey, if you love gospel and jazz and Motown cruises and holiday festival concerts in Monroe, we've got it all right here for you.
I want to say thank you for all you do, all you give us. We, your fans, we just love you. And you know
I appreciate that, Phyllis. Thank you so much. It's uncomfortable to get compliments to do something